Hi everybody. Today I wanted to do a short video on what I do with my amaryllis when they are done blooming. I buy at least a few amaryllis every year because I love them so much. And the ones from the past years, they don't usually bloom during the Christmas time. They bloom for me, they bloom more like towards the end of March or early March. But this ones I bought this year, and I still have a few blooms on this. As you can see, this is the Red Lion variety, by the way. This one over here is done blooming. This still looks gorgeous. There were 4 blooms on this one stalk, but if you see, I have one more stalk which I will get more blooms for. So this is not done. I'm not going to plant this yet. And this was in pretty low light, but it's getting ready to bloom. I'm not going to do anything till it finishes blooming. And this is pretty much done. So what I'm going to do is, obviously I'm going to take this spent blooms off, and I'm also going to cut the stalk over here, being very careful not to disturb the leaves that are coming up. I'm also going to take this out of the this wax enclosure that it comes in. Amaryllis bulbs these days are very easy to find in this manner. I'll take this off, and I'm going to plant it in a container that I already have. I love this container. I used it to grow something else all these years. There is a drainage hole, and I'll show you how I plant up this amaryllis. I'm going to plant this too also when they're done blooming. So I am going to take this stalk off, being very careful, and I'll try to film this as I do it. Okay, so as I mentioned, I'll very carefully take off this stalk. I'm using a knife. You can take a scissors or whatever you find is comfortable. Very carefully, without hitting on the leaves. The leaves are very important because those will provide nutrition so that it blooms again next year. I'll take off this stalk, and now I also have to remove the wax. As I said before, I've used this before. It's very easy to take off. It comes enclosed in something like a finger gloves. I'll of course take that off too. So see, it's not hard at all to take it off. So this is the bulb. It's kind of a little bit mushy, but it is definitely not soft. It is not going to matter. It's still going to work perfectly. And I have, I showed you this pot. I put some potting soil in this. Did not fill it up. I have about a couple of inch left. I'll just place it here, firm it down, and put more soil around it. The idea is to not cover the bulb, but make sure it sits on the soil. So one other thing that I wanted to mention is I actually watered the soil before I put it here. This is a potting soil, the simple potting soil, but I watered it before I put it here. I usually put some very hot water, so that since I'm bringing this indoors, so that if there are any pests or bugs, those get killed. Now that's all the soil I'm going to put. The idea is to make sure that the neck is not buried in soil, so that it does not get any pest or anything. This should be enough. If you can see, it is still buried, fully buried. The roots are completely buried, but the neck is not. I also have some decorative soil cover, this dry moss, which I use. I'm going to put completely optional. You can skip it, but of course it looks good, and it also preserves the moisture. So I usually put a little bit of decorative dry moss that I have at hand. So that's it, it's ready. So as I mentioned, I wet the soil, so I don't need to water it now. For amaryllis, I only water during the winter. I only water about a couple of times a month, and in the springtime I usually take them out. I don't take it out of the pot, but I put it in the sun, and before the first frost I bring it in, and that is what I do. That's all.